Here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Saturday stream. Just as a heads up, I've got headphones on because I have a new PC, finally. Yay. Like the last 6 months, everyone's been moaning about my PC. But anyway, today we have a special guest, and the last time we attempted this, that was my bad, my fault. Well, partly my fault, but today I'm really excited about this conversation. I've been watching your channel for a while, both channels, and your podcast. I've been listening to your podcast and all those conversations. I love hearing, listening in to what's going on. But before I go on a little side rant, do you want to do a quick intro of who you are, what you do? Because I'm sure you know what you do better than I do.
Yes, of course. Thank you firstly for having me on. I really appreciate it. And don't worry about last time. It happens. But yes, to anyone who doesn't know, my name is Bhav. I am... in the daytime, I'm a data analyst, but in my side hustle time, I suppose, I have a podcast that I started, I think a year ago this month. It's called Creators Campfire. It is a video podcast, so hence the second YouTube channel. But earlier this year, back in January, I started my main YouTube channel, which had been kind of a dream of mine for a while. The podcast kind of came in randomly. So yeah, I started my proper channel earlier this year, and I like talking productivity because I'm a productivity nerd. Exactly. It just makes me happy. So that's that.
Yes, and I do have your channel linked in the description for people that are interested, intrigued, etc. Kim, what happened? I just decided to go with the black styling this time, just to see how it goes, really. Because on the replay, watching orange the whole time, even though I like orange, a little bit off-putting. But yes, so you mentioned your dream to create a channel. From what I've seen, you read a lot of books and you like reading around habits, productivity, that sort of thing. Is there a crossover between your side hustle, your habits, your book reading, and all the other stuff you do, and your day job, or are they just completely separate things?
They're probably... Okay, so productivity to me covers daily life anyways, which is why I love it, because it touches on everything. But officially, no, it's got nothing to do with it. I'm a data analyst. Like, I work with numbers. Productivity helps to get stuff done, and I do spend a lot more time organizing shit than I probably need to. But yeah, not related at all.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I thought I'd ask because from my experience with people that like numbers, whether that's spreadsheets, data analysis, or just looking at numbers, there's sort of like a tie in between what they read outside and what they do with work. But okay, interesting. So I know you're a Notion user, and we're going to get it sort of like out of the way to start with. What tools do you use, or is it just Notion?
No, I love apps, have done for a long time, and I will try and test nearly everything. So I've done them all probably. Notion is a big one for me, but I mean, I've been using Notion since version 1 point something, and it's one of those things that I've been using off and on, and it's only in the last maybe 6 to 12 months that it's actually been a daily thing for me, because it's always been, oh, let me try something, it doesn't work, let me go back, and then I'll have a couple of months without it, and then I'll like wipe the whole thing and start from scratch. So I think I'm kind of now finding my feet with Notion properly, because obviously, again, when it first came out, it didn't have nearly as many features as it does today, and therefore it wasn't quite ready for how I wanted to use it, and I didn't really know how I wanted to use it, and I didn't really have that much stuff to be using it in either. But in terms of other stuff, the other app that I use all the time is Things 3. Things 3, and then Drafts. They are my three. That's like my trifecta of things. But I have a lot of apps, note-taking apps, all sorts of stuff that I like to play with and bring into my life. Agenda is the one I'm retesting now, because that came into my life a while ago, and then I was like, meh. But it's back now, and I'm like, I think I could integrate it again.
So you mentioned Things 3. Are you using that as your calendar or your tasks, or
tasks? I'm not very good with a calendar.
Okay.
I'm not. I've tried the time blocking, and every time I hear about it, I'm like, oh my god, this sounds amazing! I absolutely need to do it. But like, I use my calendar mostly at work during the work hours, and that's where it's very useful because I actually genuinely have meetings. Now I have like some Zoom calls a week or something, but I'm not a very heavy calendar user. So yes, I'm a Apple Calendar, which I've now begrudgingly not switched over, but started using Google Calendar because that just integrates better with a lot of stuff. I'm not a big fan of it, but I use it. So yeah, calendar completely to one side, but things is my to-do list of choice, and it is wonderful. There is a little crossover with Apple reminders, but mainly things.
Okay, so you've got this is interesting. So you've got Notion
this
in
one,
there.
Danny.
So you've got Notion in there as well. I'm assuming you're using things for tasks, and
Yes.
is that projects as well?
Yes, although I'm currently going through a do I need to revisit GTD phase of projects and planning. I don't have like massive projects, and yeah, I've never thought of myself as like a big project manager type thing. I do not use Notion for any tasks. That is something I've tried and tested, and I can't do, and I won't do. Notion is purely a second brain, so to speak. It's a note-taking hub. But yes.
Yeah. So okay. I'm really intrigued because this is something that I've looked at recently with not necessarily my system, but lots of different people. And when you look back in history at all of those people that have been somewhat successful, however you define it, they didn't really have apps, tools, all these different gadgets and things. And even now, when you look at people like Elon Musk, he doesn't really have anything like any system or workflow. It's just, here's my whiteboard or piece of paper, and I'm just going to doodle stuff around.
Yes.
Is that the sort of mindset you have with your system? It's, I've got a list of stuff I've got to do, the rest will happen.
Yeah, like I'm fairly good at remembering the things I have to do because the important stuff gets done, right? And that's what's important. The stuff that might not get done is the little things, but at the end of the day, that's not the important stuff. I am very much a pen and paper person first and foremost, and therefore I do my thinking on pen and paper. And yes, I might have things as my main to-do list, but I might still write a daily list of stuff on a post-it because it's there front of mind and I don't have to pick up my phone 12 times a day. But obviously GTD, there's a point to it. So it's not like I can't remember that stuff. The whole point is that you shouldn't be remembering that stuff because you need to clear your mind, right? And that's where I'm like, okay, let's brain dump it and put it in, because it's totally true. I will think to myself, I need to do that 12 times a day until I get it into one of these apps or write it down. And I'm not really that fussed if it's an app. An app is easier because your phone is always on you, and I don't carry a pen and paper on me all the time, although I probably do more than most. But that's the only benefit of having an app, right? I don't think it really matters where you write it down. I think the whole point is that you just write it down.
Yeah, very true. It's funny. I'm looking at chat. Everyone's noticed the orange. It's the first thing they notice. Like, where is the orange gone? It's like there's small bits of orange in it. I'll move it back for next week.
Come on.
Yeah, I just built an expectation, and I mean, that's not going anywhere unless I move house. so Paula's got a question. Ooh, let's see, a question for Bhav. Maybe I missed it. What do you do, work, study, and what's your interests like in hobbies and leisure? So you can sort of expand on what you said earlier.
Firstly, I have no life, so let's get I don't really get up to right. Yeah, I don't really get up to much.
Guilty.
So, right, it's just better that way. God, that's sad. Okay, let me expand a little bit in case it's of interest to anybody. I am officially accountant by trade, but hey, that's kind of boring. So I then went into the data analyst route and did that. So I do have a full-time job. I am currently studying at work still. Why, I don't know, I do this to myself, but I am. So a data scientist route, maybe. Yeah, well, yeah, it is at times. So anyway, so I am studying at work and working. And then outside, yes, I have the YouTube channel and the podcast because that's just fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly why I've got this stream.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's great talking to people. As antisocial as I am, it turns out I can talk to people. So why not do it? Hobbies, like you said, I do. I love reading. I love listening and reading about all things productivity. I'm going to group it under that, whatever you say. But I'm also a football fan. I know you play as well, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
So,
I do. Yeah, and I'm glad you said football. You're from the UK, so
I'm from the UK. It's not soccer. I'm sorry. I refuse to have that conversation. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
yes. Oh, yeah. The soccer football thing. I mean, doing a sports coach in undergraduate. That's so annoying, so irritating. There's so many sports, and like, just leave me alone.
Yeah, no, I can't handle the soccer thing. I get very upset.
So, expanding on your book reading. Do you is it because some people read for they want to get value out of whatever they're reading. They want to take notes and do all of this on Kindle, etc. And some people take the complete opposite and go, I'm just going to go sit in a corner and read because I want to relax. Are you a mix of both?
Yes, very much. I never used to take notes on non-fiction books. I probably started. I was probably late to the reading game. I don't think I ever read a lot when I was younger or anything like that. It was probably Harry Potter that was, the gateway into reading. So it definitely started with fiction, and then over time I realised, hey, there's a whole world of stuff that isn't a textbook but is still valuable and is interesting. I was like, oh, cool, okay. So that led down the personal development, self-development, growth, all that kind of jazz route. Again, like I never used to take notes on it. I was just reading it, and I just read some great books, and I was like, this is amazing, and you can get so much value out of this. And I would just read. I'd go through phases. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a consistent reader, but what I found is that obviously I wasn't retaining any knowledge, and that really frustrated me. To go, hang on, I've read these amazing books, and now I can't remember anything about them. And that's when I started thinking, okay, now I need a note-taking system. I'm not a fan of the Kindle as much as I like it. I don't like it for non-fiction. But yeah, I also like reading or listening to. I'm a huge Audible fan and love listening to probably actually more fiction on Audible. But yeah, I will just read.
Okay. Interesting. When you said Harry Potter, my first thought was Kim. Like, Kim is a massive Harry Potter fan as well. I know she's watching.
Okay,
and
yes.
Like, her whole Notion space is around like the chamber of I can't even remember what it's called now, but yeah.
Chamber of Secrets, Danny. Come on.
No, I know it's the Chamber of Secrets. It's just she called something the Chamber of something, and I can't remember what it is in her space.
You scared me.
No, I knew the Harry Potter thing.
Right.
I haven't read the books though. I don't like reading, like, at all, in the slightest.
Thoughts on audiobooks?
Audiobooks and podcasts for me, kind of the same sort of thing. I can do it if I'm in the mood.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time I need some sort of visual. I prefer watching someone talk or so a lecture. I will quite happily watch a 3-hour video on YouTube. It's really bad video quality, really bad audio, like the old TED Talks. I'll watch those.
Got it.
But as soon as you give me a podcast and I'm like, I need something to be looking at. Maybe it's because the way I've been brought up.
No, I get
screens,
it.
But
I can't just sit there and listen to an audiobook. That's very strange for me. I feel like that's a waste. And that's why I need the video aspect. But what I found is if I go for a walk and stick an audiobook on, that is a lovely combination. Or when I'm doing the housework and I'm like, oh, I got, a couple of hours on a Sunday, I'll throw it on and it's like, it's there, but it's not there. And then I don't have to feel like I've wasted time. That for me is a perfect combo for my fiction reading anyway.
Yeah. You mentioned taking notes when you're reading books. Obviously, if you're not using a Kindle taking notes, do you have like a notepad next to you, or is it a computer?
I am still refining the system, and I think it very much depends on the book, is my latest thoughts on this. So mainly I've reverted to just writing on the book, annotating the book as I go. I think that's very good. I read an article actually I think I watched a YouTube video that led to an article a little while ago on annotating books, and the whole point is that it's your book and it deserves to be annotated on. That's how you get value on it. So I found that incredibly helpful, and I was like, yes, you're absolutely right, I should annotate these books. But there are certain books where I will pull up. What I like is the Kindle app. So not the Kindle, but I'll buy the Kindle version, pull up the app on my iPad or my Mac, side by side it, and then so I just read Make Time by Jake Knapp and John Zaratsky. Really good book, but it's very much a framework book, and therefore it's got all these different kind of concepts and themes and kind of strategies for making time, and therefore it's very much a notebook, right? So it's not like I'm trying to give another example. I don't know. It's not like a big magic where you're just taking like one overarching theme almost. It's very much a here's bang, 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 here are the notes. And therefore I would side by side it and I would be taking notes at the same time. So that was easier on the Mac for me. Whereas, something else, Big Magic I actually listened to on an audiobook because it's like, I get the idea. And then I would like come back and just write some notes on it. So it very much depends. There are different types of non-fiction books.
As an academic, those two words drive me mad. It depends is the answer to almost everything, but it has to be.
It really does. And I think grouping, and this is where I was struggling before, because I would be like, I need to understand my non-fiction book-taking note system. There isn't one because every book is different. So it really does depend. I started reading Why We Sleep on the Kindle, and I was like, no, this isn't one of those books. So then I reverted to the book. I had the book anyways. I got my pen out, and I was just like, this is more of an annotating, ready, a long book.
An annotating book.
An annotating
Yeah,
book.
we can add that to the dictionary that doesn't exist.
Yes. I think it would be a great dictionary.
Oh, yeah. Adding words to it all the time. I'm going to ask a question. I personally don't like when someone asks me this question.
Oh, lovely. Great.
Yeah. What do you do with your notes?
Yeah, again, still trying to work this out. And actually, that's not a bad question because this is very much top of mind for me right now. In theory, the idea, obviously the whole point of like reading or taking in stuff is to do something with it. So I'm trying to create this system, this second brain system or whatever, however you want to call it, where actually I've taken notes as I've gone along and then I've summarized it and then I've gone, here are my action points. Here's the things I want to do. And then when I've kind of got comfortable with that, I can come back to it and I can read my summary of that and then go, oh, okay, maybe I'll take a new insight out of this the next time. I actually created a Notion page, gave me a one-liner. So every time I read a book, I'd put in my next action, my one action to take. I think I called it my moat. I think I've got a video on it. And it was just like, here's the one thing I'm taking away from this book. Let's not overdo it. So it's like, oh, I read this. Well, what's the one change I'm going to make?
Yeah, when you said that, I was like, have I? Yes, I have. It's there. Yeah, because I know I've watched the video and I've actually taken a note and it's in my Obsidian, so I could go to it. I could tell you the notes about it, but I'll make people go and watch it.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, that's wonderful. I've taken notes on a note-taking video. I do that all the time. But yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, as an example, earlier today, I was taking notes on a video about fact checking, and I was taking notes on that video, and I had to fact check the facts that they were talking about, and it was just like really meta.
Okay, while we're on this, I have a question for you. So, I am very much struggling with my YouTube note-taking. Now, I know you would send like all your YouTube videos into Notion at one point. I don't know if you still do it. And I think August Bradley does this, where he sends it and he kind of like does his notes underneath the YouTube video, and he's almost watching the YouTube video in Notion as he kind of goes. And I'm like, that's a cool idea, but I'm never in that kind of. I tend to watch videos on the go, and what I've ended up doing is I've ended up creating this like ginormous watch later list because I'm like, I really want to take a note or two on that. And it's not like I need to transcribe the episode. It's just, again, what's my one action from this, or what are the key concepts in this? Because same as books, I have watched an insane amount of YouTube videos and I've got nothing tangible from it. Yes, at the point in time I would have taken something, but I kind of want to build up, coming back to your original question of what do I do with the notes, I want to build up this kind of resource library that if I then go, oh, what are the notes I had, and this is the only thing that comes into my mind, but what are the notes I had about a morning routine? That's the kind of thing I need to implement now. So let me pull up everything I've read and listened to about morning routines and let me kind of put that into place. So I guess my question is, how do you deal with note-taking from YouTube videos, if at all?
I do. I note take on every video that I see a note to be taken with. And I'm going to say it like that because there are some videos where I watch and they're entertaining videos. Like Matt Diavella's videos are really, really fun to watch.
Yes.
There's good points in them, but there's no actual note to be taken a lot of the time. Ali's videos are very similar. And if there is a note that if there's a note I can grab from the video that I already know, I would just go to in my system wherever it is and just like put the video there. I'm using Obsidian, not Notion. But same principle applies. Like I just copy the URL and put it in. When it comes to what I actually do with them, there's so many different terms for it: second brain, linking your thinking, whatever. Whatever term you want to use. But I've got essentially a dashboard of different topics, so communication, health, that sort of thing. And then I go into that, and then it sort of breaks up into smaller categories. And essentially that document, it's not one document, it's loads of pages, that is where it gets sort of funneled to. So once I've watched the video and I've gone, okay, there's actually a point in there, I'll take the note and it'll be a point. I will then leave it for a day, 2 days, sometimes longer, and I'll just leave it there. And when I systematically-ish go through those notes a second time, I'll then look at them and go, okay, where does this fit? And if it doesn't fit in anywhere, why did I take it?
Yes, fine. That's kind of your barrier. Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. So I have 2 questions. Sorry for taking over a little bit, but I'm very intrigued. Okay, so one is that quick capturable enough? So if you're watching a video on your phone or something, is that an easy process for you to like dump it into Obsidian, or do you have a interim solution if you can't get to it?
This actually comes down to how I plan out my day. I say I plan out my day. I try not to watch YouTube videos throughout the day because I just never get anything done. So I actually say, okay, if I'm going to watch a video, I'm going to watch a video. If I'm randomly going through YouTube and I happen to fall across a video that is worth note taking, I'll put it to my watch later. So my watch later list is where I watch most of my videos. I don't go on YouTube and watch a video straight up. I will put it into watch later. And it's the same with my podcasts, same with articles and blogs or Twitter, like Twitter tweets. They'll go bookmark. They'll go to a bookmark section and I will go through them and then I'll take notes on them. That's kind of how I do it, because then normally it's after dinner, so it would be now. During the day, I'll do most of the stuff that I've actually got to do or should be doing. And then afterwards, I can be like, I'm going to chill out, just watch some videos. If there's a note to be taken, I'm in the setup where I can, if I need to. That's how I try and do it. And if I do come across things, it goes to watch later and it gets sifted through into the system. Anyway.
Okay, maybe that's the point I need to get to then. Because it could be that I've put it off for so long that I have this huge backlog, but once it's cleared, not that it'll ever be cleared, but once it's got down to a reasonable size, maybe that is the process I do need to implement to just go through them. But yes, that piece where you've got here are like my pages for certain topics, that's definitely the piece where I want to get to. And my current question is, do I want to create, again, I'm a Notioner, so do I want to create a Notion table, a database that has all of these so I can filter, or do I just want to dump them in a page per concept or idea, which is originally how I thought of it. But that's something to experiment with, I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, depending on the application people are using, it's going to look slightly different. But the way my document has filled out is I just put one thing in there. I was like, okay, another thing. And when I started to see, this is all around this thing, I put them in a page. And then it starts to build out. I mean, I've now got like 4 or 5 different levels of pages because it's built up over time.
Absolutely, yeah. Because the only reason I was like, do I just go for a database is I was like, well, what if I want to see all of Ali's videos or all of Matt's videos or kind of all of Thomas Frank's videos? And I was like, is it something to go down? But then I think there's that whole friction to capturing the stuff in the first place. But I do think your weekly catch all is probably the way to go. My second question on that is on videos where there's more than one note to take, and it's potentially a different concept, how do you split them? I'm talking atomic notes right here. So if there's a video and there's like 5 different notes, do you create an atomic note for each of those? Or do you just kind of go, this kind of links also to this?
So, I mean, if you're in Rome or Obsidian, you can go really nerdy and then do block referencing.
I thought that's where you were going.
But I don't do that.
Okay, fine.
I treat it as I would an academic article.
Yeah.
So in an academic article, you've got loads of points. The note I've taken is a page. So the video would be a note, and then each individual sort of sentence in some cases would then be put into my document page. So I have the original note stored, but my document page, it could be a duplicate, it could be a linked reference, whatever. I actually do a copy and paste right now. I just copy and paste the words, and then I link the page so I can go back to the page. The reason I copy and paste is I then include those words in, whether it's a blog post, an article, a video, that I'm actually writing about that thing.
Yeah.
So I want the flexibility to change it, which is where block referencing doesn't allow me to do that.
Right.
So
it's interesting. Maybe I do create a backlog of everything and just... Anyway, sorry, I digress.
Because when I was in Notion, I had a notes database, which was where I captured everything, all of those pages. And I still have the same system. I still have a place where all of my notes go. It's just now, instead of it being, here's a database of like 7,000 stuff, I'm like, okay, now what do I do with it? It's configured in, not necessarily an article, but in a living document that expands and grows. And I've actually been able to now reference what I do in there. So I can say, I've already written something about this, and then I can reference it and go backwards and forwards.
Maybe that is the route to take. Because then I was going through and I can't pronounce his name, but the whole Zettelkasten method and Lumen. Yeah, and the reference. Anyway, I'm getting nerdy. I will shut up. But yes.
We're all nerdy here.
Excellent.
Yes. Something you brought up earlier. This is me like going all the way going back in mind. This is where I get like attached to a question. I'm like, I will ask that.
Yes. It's so
yeah. You spoke about writing, handwriting, and you like pen and paper. Do you journal, bullet journal, mood journal, daily journal, any journal?
I have tried this several times because everyone's like, journaling and meditation is what you really need in your life, and I can't do either. So, no, not officially. I've tried the gratitude journal. I've tried bullet journal. I've tried morning pages. Morning pages were my favorite because that's just like a brain dump, and I can absolutely see the value in that. But what I've realized is I think it's more valuable that I get out. So what I've started doing is, again, when I'm reading books or listening to podcasts and I'm not taking the notes there and then, what I like to do is if I've listened to an hour's audiobook or something, I will, instead of doing a morning routine, like morning pages, I'll just spend 5 minutes recapping what I listened to. And I think that's probably good for my brain in terms of like active recall and stuff, but also I hate it when you've like watched a program or you've read a book and you're like, what the hell even happened? Like, what did I think of this? I'm not a huge fan of rating things, but what I found is as I go, then even just reading the book becomes like, I remember what's happened here. I also find that very occasionally I will get halfway through a book, something will come up and I won't pick it up for 3 months and I'll be like, I have no idea what happened. Because you're always like, I'll remember. So that's what I think is more useful for my time. But I can absolutely see the benefit in morning pages or a brain dump, so to speak. Because when I have done them, they have felt good. But like the typical journaling is not for me.
That's interesting. What do you think of?
And sorry to add, even when I did the morning pages, you're supposed to do it pen and paper. I'm not journaling pen and paper. That is utterly ridiculous. I don't have the time for that.
I'm sure people would love to argue with you on that one.
Yeah, that's just. But your brain thinks so fast. Like, how are you gonna? I'm on Ali's team here. Just it makes no sense. I can type much faster and get on with it and move on. And
are you at 160 words per minute? Are you there?
I'm not. I'm not. I'm about 85. So I've got a long way to go, but I will get there. That is on the list of things to do in my life. That's sad, but yeah. I do love typing, though. Like, genuinely love typing.
I'm a talker. I love talking.
Yeah, okay. That is fair. I am
So-
not a talker. I am very, very antisocial. So I am a typer.
Just because I talk doesn't mean I talk to other people.
Oh, okay, right, yeah. That's cool.
I mean, camera.
That's fair. Yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I was going to say it relates to a video. I think it was the most recent video I put out, or the one before, where I did an exploration myself in journaling, which is why I asked, because journaling is so many things. And you said typical journaling.
Yeah.
In your head, what is typical journaling? I'm curious.
In my head, it's very Dear Diary type stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh. Again, what I find sometimes useful, but I can't keep up, is to do a daily log, which probably goes back to the bullet journal method and is something that Matt Raglan talks about, into just like, get to the end of the day and almost recap the day, which I think there is benefit to. And I have been thinking of ways to do a 2-minute pre-bed kind of, like, the thing is, once I start, I will then start getting really into the detail, and it'll be like 15, 20 minutes later, and I'll be like, this was supposed to be a 2-minute job. So I very much can do it, but I stop myself because I'm like, I don't want to do this for 20 minutes every night or 20 minutes every morning. So I'm thinking of doing, 3 questions or something, just to say, did you speak to anyone? That would be kind of fun. Just remember what happened, or, was there an event in the day or something? Did something happen? 3 highlights of the day or something. I am thinking about incorporating that. But my thought of journaling is very much a Dear Diary, which I know isn't true, but it's still where my mind goes to. I'm not one to sit there and journal about my feelings, which maybe I need to do. Who knows? But yes.
It is funny because that's the exact same thing I had, and with my journaling deep dive,
Yes.
Tim Ferriss spoke about 3 different journals he enters. So he's got a focus journal, a 5-minute focus journal, the morning pages, and then his small little pocket journal, I think he calls it.
Right.
Yeah. And I actually combined lots of those sort of things together, and because I like talking, I just record 10 minutes of me talking about something, and it's
Nice.
it's evolved. I think I'm at like day 61 now. Like,
Wow.
yeah, previously I was good luck getting three in a row.
Yeah. That's cool. So you actually like it and enjoy it and have found value from it?
Loads, because the way I do it, the video explains all of it, but what I've realized.
Sorry, I've been off YouTube for like a month. I don't know what's going on in the world.
Fine, but one of the things I've realized is, because I'm so used to just talking through a topic now, so around day 20, 25, I started talking about my day whilst I was talking about the topic.
Got it.
And I was like, this is so weird.
Right.
But I was using a cue, any sort of cue, whether that's I called it a squirrel cue because squirrel moments go all over the place. But it's a cue from, whether that's a note I've taken, a quote I've taken, a video I've watched, something I've noticed in a movie or anything.
Yes.
And I just go, okay, here's my cue. Let's talk about it for 10 minutes. I picked 10 minutes because I could easily go further. But I was like, nope.
You need to stop yourself. Yep.
Yeah. So every morning it started off with 2 cues because I was like, I don't know if I can last 10 minutes talking about this one thing.
Sure.
Started off with 2. I got through that quite quickly, and then it went to 1, and now I'm literally just whatever's on my mind. Sometimes I've got like 50 cues, and I'll just go on something that's in my head right now, and I'll go for 10 minutes. And then, so once I've done that, this is my process now. Previously, it was just done it, I'll leave it there, and it was a video, so I could rewatch it again at times 2 speed, so get through it quick.
Definitely. I'm starting to push up to 2.5.
Of course. But when I'm rewatching it, I can then go, oh, I hear like 3 main points in here. And then I can just expand on those. Sometimes they become cues for later on. And what I've actually started doing now is I started doing a journal blog-ish of them. Very sort of Seth Godin style.
Yes, yeah.
Because there is so much stuff that I've sort of brought up in this 10 minutes that I can easily condense into just 3 or 4 sentences, which is what I'm doing in the blog.
Yes. That's super cool.
Active recall, because I'm saying it, then I'm rewatching it, and then I'm condensing it and writing it. And then most of those things are then being put into my videos because they are in my note-taking system. So I'm doing it like 4 or 5 times.
That's super cool. Okay, that's kind of what I've started doing with, hey, just summarize what you're reading. But at the moment, I'm doing it with like my escapism stuff. So like I'll watch a bunch of stuff and I'll be like, recap that, or do it with fiction. But actually, when I can step it over into non-fiction and summarize whatever I've learned that day or the YouTube videos, I think that's a very similar process. That's actually super cool. I like that you also just talk it. That wasn't a sentence, but you know what I mean.
It's so much easier.
Yeah, I'm not a talker naturally, so I'm not sure. But still, the process is the same. Whether you say it out loud or whether you type it, it's the process. I like that a lot. That's an idea.
You say you're not a talker, but we've been live for 35 minutes and you do a podcast and you talk for however long. 10 minutes talking about something you're interested in.
That's very true. I can talk about what I'm interested in. The podcast, I don't actually talk that much, which is why I very much just went down that route. But yes, that's a fair point. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I can't even remember when it was, but now when I'm doing these squirrel moments, because I've gone through all of those videos so many times, all the different things, I then go, oh, and like last week or a couple of days ago, I mentioned this, and I bring it up in that squirrel.
Yes.
Because it's top of mind.
Exactly.
And I think it was like day 6 or day 7. I watched Lucy, the film or movie, Lucy, which is, female, drug mule, then gets like super brain power, basically.
Yeah. I've seen the trailer, but not seen the movie.
I've seen it a couple of times, but there were some points in there that I was like, this is really interesting. I came upstairs, did a squirrel about it, and it's kind of formed one of my sections in my philosophy document. I'm like, this came from me watching a movie.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the point I want to get to. So I love that. I think that's such a brilliant idea because, and again, this comes back to the whole GTD thing. If you're constantly thinking, oh, I need to do that, I need to do that, I need to do that, your brain doesn't have enough time to switch off to have these moments. So the fact that you're taking 10 minutes out of your day to actually recap, and that's what I find useful about the daily log that I never get round to, because it's when you go through that, it's like, oh, that happened. And that made me think this. But I like that you have specific cues, actually, because that very much narrows it down. How do you pick your cue? How did you pick your cue when you started?
Yeah, so I started with things that I was already seeing. So whether it was I'd seen a comment or a tweet or a video or something, and I had a different perspective on it, or I just wanted to talk about it. Yeah. So I think one of my first ones was, actually the first one's Fofi. So Homesick Mac made a comment on a live stream. And then tweeted about it afterwards. And then like 3 weeks later, I was like, Fofi, oh yeah, let's talk about that. So I spoke about what he brought up in the stream. I thought it was going to be really, really short. I thought it was going to be like 2 or 3 minutes. Turned into 10 minutes. I was recording audio on Audacity and I was like, oh, 9:15. I'm going to stop there.
Wow.
So yeah, that was the first one. And
Do
now...
you find that you end up in a completely different place?
Sometimes.
So you start talking about, you start talking about one thing and you actually end up talking about something totally different.
So what the first, I'd probably say the first 10 were very much, I'm just going to talk for 10 minutes. It's almost like I'm just going to keep saying stuff that comes to my head for 10 minutes and just see what comes out of it, just to get used to talking for 10 minutes. And I mean, they're all on Patreon if people want to have a look at them. I've left them on Patreon, not on like public YouTube, because some of it's rather opinionated. Yeah, fair. But it's just absolute rubbish. It's absolute rubbish sometimes. But there are small nuggets, and I'm like, that's useful. I can take that.
That's effective. Yeah, that is literally the exact same principle as morning pages, but the talking version. Like if you can't speak, you're doing. That's super cool. Because again, I think the whole idea. Actually, I haven't read the book, but I think the whole idea of morning pages is to clear out your mind so that you can then get onto your creative writing. So it's like this massive brain dump that just get rid of all the gunk. I recently got obsessed with Amy Landino, and it was, I've heard about morning pages for a long time now, but it was her kind of positioning on it, coming from someone who wasn't necessarily doing it from a writing point of view. She was just like, oh, I'm clearing the gunk. And I was like, oh, that's a genius idea. That's effectively, I guess, what you're doing, but at the same time, you're honing your speaking skills And you have
I've
that's super cool. I love that.
Yeah, I was going to say I've done lots of things at once because I can practice my editing if I want to, because I'm doing a video a day.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
I can work with audio with Audacity. I'm talking on camera, and I'm exploring different ideas and topics every single day.
Yeah.
Something else that I have started doing. So I have kind of like 3 inboxes of stuff. I have just random stuff I've noticed, which goes into just a brain dump type page of cues. Then I have which I've stolen this from Michelle B. Question storming, which is where I just put questions, just really odd questions sometimes in there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, something that I think it was last week. 3 dots. You know, when you put 3 dots after something, why 3? Why not 2? Why not 4? Why not 5? Like, why the number 3? I don't know.
I'm not sure either.
And the same sort of thing. Like when you think of a number 10 and a number 3, like for me, 10 is more of a nice number than a 3. Like 3 just seems nasty, and I have no idea why.
3 is a magical number.
I know, it's just like, why? But yeah, and there's so many, like I say, odd questions in there, but it's a trigger to start thinking, start talking. And then the other one's YouTube, like my YouTube dashboard of ideas, which is sort of collected lots of things from my philosophy document into one. I can go, oh, this is an actual topic I can talk about.
Yeah. Love that. No, that's super cool.
Yeah. So Yusuf put a question in chat a while ago now. That isn't Yusuf in the that isn't Yusuf in the actual picture. Well, I don't think it is anyway.
You never know.
I know he's changed his profile picture a couple of times. Have you used RSS feeds before? I realize that they are really productive. Instead of having to go to each website to view content, I can do it all in one feed, and I only get what I'm subscribed to.
No, is the short answer. I actually don't read a lot of articles. Funnily enough, as somebody who likes reading, I hardly ever read articles. I just can't be bothered. I'm more likely to read a book than an article, which is actually a little bonkers. So no. I have subscribed to, I think, one newsletter, which is Ali's. I don't think I have anything else. I don't actually like reading online. I try and use my phone. It's weird. It's like my phone is very much for social stuff. My iPad is very much media consumption, and my Mac is very much work. And those 3 are very clearly defined. And yeah, I'm just not an article person. Sorry,
that's fair.
Not the answer you wanted, but it makes a lot of sense if you are an article person to do it that way. I totally agree, but yeah, not me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, for me, again, I don't like reading, so
full stop.
It's funny. I say I don't like reading, and the last 5 years of my education has been like higher education, which is reading articles, like 2 or 3 articles a day, heavily reading academic like texts, and you don't understand half the words.
Yes.
Maybe that's contributed. But the problem / issue I have with articles is they take longer to get through than videos, and fact checking articles is very, very difficult, because almost no article references their sources. And and when they say something, you have no idea whether they've referenced something. It's not like in a YouTube video where they can put something up on screen, this is the video I went to, or put it in the description, these are the videos I referenced, or you can see so-and-so said this. It's sort of like a side comment in a video, whereas in an article, it's condensed words. So you can look at some of the stuff, and some of the things I read in articles, I go, okay, I'm going to have to do some lateral reading here. It's a term I've used in academics, where traditionally you read down a page. In academics, you read across because you have hundreds of tabs up, and you're like, okay, does this confirm this, confirm this, confirm this?
Right.
Articles, you have to do a lot of lateral reading, like going between tabs to either synthesize and confirm a point, or go, actually, no, that's wrong, or that's not right, or okay, I need to read more.
Right.
Articles are too much work.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I certainly see the value in them.
No, like in theory, they make a lot more sense. They're a condensed version of a book, but yeah, can I be bothered? No.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like a book is way more trustworthy, which kind of going back to your point in terms of fact checking, but I'm fully aware that's not the case. But very
gonna
easy
say.
for people to throw out an article, right? I could go and put one up now. I'm not going to throw out a book today, am I? It's like...
Well, I hope not.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I have no plans of that. But I suppose the same could be said for YouTube. But again, to your point, you could very easily smash through 15. Oh, we're just stuffing. You could very easily read 15 articles. That was not helpful. I apologise, Yusuf, for a completely pointless answer to your question.
It was a conversation, and that's the point. Whether it's useful or not, it's still part of the conversation. That's something that I don't know whether I've sort of just thrown this out, but an opinion is an opinion. Whether you're right or wrong, it's an opinion. So I've tried to stop apologizing for sharing my opinion.
I like that. That is fair. Okay.
So,
it sounds like a very British thing to do, just apologise. It's just default, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. I very, very much me. Used to sort of followed up. So actually I use RSS feeds for videos and Twitter accounts. Okay. I didn't even know you could do that, to be honest, but watch later and bookmarks work for me for those. YouTube has a built-in way to get any. So when it comes to getting the YouTube channel videos, I use the subscription tab like every day. Because the way I actually spoke about this recently in a brainstorming sort of conversation I had with a couple of other creators is YouTube. You can push the bell notification, but no one really does. I use the bell for content that I know I'm going to watch. I know I want to watch. So there are some creators I'm subscribed to that I will watch every video. Matt is one, Thomas is one, Mariana, those sort of people. Yeah. Some people I'll have the bell on because 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 is useful. All the other creators I just subscribe. Like I'm subscribed to probably thousands of channels and don't watch their videos. But I go to the subscription tab at the end of the day and just go through like thumbnails and titles to see if anything pops out. Because I've liked something previously. Because sometimes Mark Rober is a perfect example. Mark Rober won't put out a video for like 2 or 3 months and they'll put out an amazing video. And if YouTube decides, I'm not going to push it to you, because YouTube does that, Yes, it does. So I go through that every day just to see if there's anything missed. It only takes like 1 or 2 minutes to scroll through because most of the stuff in there is just fluff, videos for video's sake. Yeah,
that's a fair point. But yes, I agree. I'm a watch later on YouTube person, and I probably use Twitter not in a way that anybody else does, and therefore never bookmark anything because I never scroll past the top 4 tweets. So
I don't scroll Twitter ever.
I do get very bored, but that's fair.
Yeah, no. Any creator that puts out information that's interesting, I have notifications on for, which is spoke about earlier on stream. I think it's before stream.
Yes, it was.
And if I see something, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just click on that. I'll bookmark that, and then at the end of the day, I'll go through the bookmarks. Oh, that was interesting. Note it down. Oh, that wasn't. Get rid of the bookmark.
That's a fair point. Maybe that's what I need to do because I follow a bunch of people that I don't even know half of them, and I absolutely don't care what they update on their status. But I have no notifications turned on. Maybe that's probably a better way to do it.
I mean, off the top of my head, I know Adam Grant, psychologist, Mark Manson, obviously Ali, Thomas, Matt, those sort of people, Marie. They're all notification turned on. So when they do post something, I can see what's going on. Like I knew Marie was going to stream because she like tweeted it, and I was like, oh, okay. I didn't get a YouTube notification.
Exactly. That's actually a good point. Maybe that's what I need to do because I did venture into TweetDeck just to try and create a list of the people that I care about, but then I was like, I can't be bothered to go to TweetDeck every day. It's like that's an additional piece of friction and a complete pain in the ass. So actually, maybe that's what I need to do. That's a better idea, and I can just bookmark. Because I'm like, yes, there's maybe 10 to 20 people that I actually care about what they write and want to keep up. That's a fair shout. I might do that, or I might just mute everybody else. That's the other option. Then I can only check my feed.
Yeah, I mean, with a lot of social media, there is so much fluff in there. It's trying to find the valuable points. And there was, I listened to, I can't remember his name. It was on the Productivityists podcast. I don't know how you meant to say that. Mike Vardy's podcast.
I was going to say. That one.
Yeah, that one. I was listening to one of his podcasts earlier today. Took notes on it. I could find it. Can't be bothered.
Right.
And one of the points that this person was making was about clarity and clarity of what we're doing our work for. And they spoke about the clarity of the why of what we're doing and making our actions purposeful. But I associated that with notifications, conversations, because you can have a conversation about literally anything. Anyone can talk about anything.
Yeah.
It's whether the conversation is worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What is the point of the conversation? And that's something that with some of the videos I watch, I'm like, is this a video for video's sake, or is there a real reason for it? Like sometimes it's just entertainment.
Yes. Yeah.
Which perfectly valid, and I appreciate those. Thank you. Need those. Need downtime.
Absolutely. Yes.
But other videos, I'm like, I feel like you've posted this video, but it has the same points as either a video you've already made or a video someone else has made, and you just sort of reworded it and changed the background music. And I'm like,
yes.
Why did I watch this? It's just a different person saying the same thing.
Yes. Yes.
So, and that's something that for me, I try to avoid when I'm making stuff. When I'm making stuff, I either add a thought that could be like critically critiqued or whatever, or something that's thought-provoking to change or challenge something, or make it entertaining in a different way, rather than just repeating the same words I've researched. Yeah. Which leads me on to a question for you with some of the stuff that you create. Obviously, podcast, amazing. YouTube videos, again, like I enjoy watching them. There are some channels where I'm just like, okay, they're on their journey just like me. I understand it, but there's some things in that I'm just like, can you just do these bits? Just do those bits.
Yeah.
But you seem like you got it down. You got it polished.
Oh, thank you. I definitely don't feel that, but I appreciate it.
When you're deciding to make something or do something with it, this is related to any action. It could be applied anywhere. Mm-hmm. How do you decide, yes, I'm going to do that?
That's a very good question. With YouTube, it's kind of the ones I've done, it's kind of almost come to me that week. It's like, okay, so the last video I posted, which was a few weeks ago, I was listening to a Amy Landino podcast, and she had Gretchen Rubin on the show, on the episode, and they were talking about the 4 tendencies, which I hadn't heard of. I know she'd written The Happiness Project, but hadn't ever read it, and they were talking about the 4 tendencies, and I was like, oh my God, this is mind-blowing. So that already was like, that's my video for this week. And what I found is usually something will come to me in the week that I'm like, that's a video. I know exactly what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. Obviously, there's probably weeks where I haven't had that, but I'm sure there's been weeks where I've had like 3 ideas, and they just go in the kind of like backlog kind of piece. But it's similar with the podcast. It's like, when a guest is coming on, and you kind of just like, that's what I want to talk to them about. I already know where this conversation is going, because 9 times out of 10, they're people who I love watching in some respect, and therefore already know their stuff. And I'm like, and it's not like I've ever planned it when I go out to them and I'm like, I really want to talk about this, but you just naturally know something just clicks, and I'm like, that's it. It just kind of falls into place, is what I'm trying to say, which just makes it sound fluky.
I mean, I can't remember. There's a quote, and it's from Simon Sinek, and I cannot remember it. And again, can't be bothered to look it up. But essentially, like everything.
That's exactly the point. Sorry, I realise I'm totally cutting you up, but that's exactly the point of why I want this like database. It's like, what was that thing that person said? I want to be able to just find it. Sorry, Simon Sinek. I apologise.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm looking back at the stream later, I can just look it up and be like, oh yeah, that's what it was. I can literally like Control O Simon Sinek, and then it will just come up on my. Anyway,
that's where I need to get to. Anyway, sorry.
So again, I can't remember the quote, but essentially it was because we've always got things incubating in our minds. A lot of the things that we don't know is in our subconscious. So the things that we can't explain, we're actually thinking about it without thinking about it. And I was like, that's an interesting point, like unconscious thinking, which is where the incubator idea came from with all the note taking. You take a note, which is why I take 24 hours before I process a note. So
yes.
In my Obsidian, the way that it is, I have like three folders. They're not really folders. They're just places that I can dump stuff. Again, in a video explaining.
Yeah.
But once I've taken a note, it will sit there. So I can see I've taken the note, but I haven't processed it, like actively processed it. But in my head, I've thought about it.
Yes. Yes.
And it sounds sort of similar, like you've gone, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to actively talk to this person. But in the back of your mind, you're like, I could talk about this and I could ask that.
Yes, completely. Exactly. You made it sound much better than I did. Thank you. But that
collecting the notes.
Yeah. Well, that actually reminds me of another point. Is that I think one of the reasons why kind of my collection of notes has maybe fallen down in the past is because even when I've implemented the inbox, I hadn't implemented the sorting part. And without the sorting part, it becomes this massive dump, and it's just like, I don't want to touch this. And what I've recently found more and more is how important a weekly review or something to that effect is. Whether it's a daily, 5 minutes, or a weekly, hang on, I really need to block this time. This really does need to be done. And I'm just going to work through it. I think the key is to not make it so overwhelming, which I probably have done in the past. I'm like, a weekly review, I need to do these 50 things. And it's like, no. But yeah, I'm definitely seeing the need for something like that. And I think that's kind of where I want to get to, where I get to the end of the week and I have this list, exactly to your point, I have this inbox of here's the stuff I went through. Let me spend half an hour going through it. Was this valuable? Where does it fit? Why did I take it? And almost recapping as well, because that's the next part of active recall, right? It's going back through it and going, oh, that was valuable, or no, that's crap. Let's get it out. So yeah, no, that's cool. Definitely need to do that.
I'm curious when it comes to, because obviously Notion API is now out, and automation is all the rage. I said a while ago with the save to Notion clipper, where you could clip something and go straight into all your filtered, and so I didn't like that because it took away my decision making of going, I've clipped it. Do I actually want this? I was going to say, do you like the automation stuff in that sense? But by the sounds of it, yeah.
No. And this is exactly why I'm not a big fan of like Readwise or something, because again, it's the same process. I need that. I love the quick capture, and I think that's super valuable. And I'm 100. That's what I don't like about Notion, really. And the Notion Clipper is kind of halfway, but that's what I like. There are things. That's why I prefer drafts or things, is because it's very quick to just dump things in there. But again, exactly like you, I think the processing phase is incredibly important, because what happens is you just create digital clutter, right? You wouldn't just pile up everything that came in if it was physical. So there is absolutely no need to put everything in. But actually, you've just triggered something. So, okay, this is interesting. I'm now just going to think out loud and get your views on it. So one of the things is, I don't like to just clip or save every YouTube video that I watch. Obviously, I must go through hundreds, and again, like we've said, half of them are entertainment and therefore like need nothing further from it. But actually, if the processing or the sorting phase is actually a good system, then actually I could clip more, not worry about it, and make sure that part of the process works. Instead of, because one of the problems is at the time of saving that link, sometimes I overthink it and it becomes a big task, and I'm like, oh, I need to sort it. Do I want to keep it? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, I've just spent 5 minutes like working out what to do with this. Whereas actually I think, yeah, I can save it with a quick note, and that's the benefit of the Notion Clipper. And at the end of the week, I then review, 100 videos or something, but very quickly to say, was this valuable? Oh, you may have solved a little problem there, Danny. Okay, yes. So, yes, I'm not a fan. The thing is again, it's so easy to over-engineer a Notion. And yes, with the API, it's like, oh, we're going to automate everything. And I'm a huge fan of automation, but I think the system or the process needs to be defined first, rather than, here's what we can do, let me fix that into what I'm doing. It's more, hang on, I have a process that can be automated, and it would make my life easier if it was. That, I think, is the way of looking at it. And that's why I actually like to design almost my Notion pages on paper first. I like to be very clear about the purpose of what I am creating, which is why I'm overthinking this YouTube thing, because it's like I want to go in knowing what outcome I want from it, instead of getting caught up in the capabilities of Notion. It's almost like that needs to fit my workflow, not I'm going to go and create something that's super cool but actually doesn't do what I needed it to do. That was my ramble.
So what I was doing during that is I was looking at the clock. That's almost 5 minutes. So that's almost half.
Okay.
That's almost half of my squirrel session right there. And the questions you asked yourself, I would then, when I've asked myself a question, or when I ask a question to the camera, I would then try and answer that question like to myself. If someone else was to ask that question to me, I'd be like, hold on. And that's what I do during the squirrels. I ask questions. I'm like, why would someone do this? Oh, wait, why would I do this? And then I carry on talking. You've already gone halfway through a squirrel. And then when I go back and watch it, I'm like, wow, that sounds really silly. Why did I do that? I can just do this.
Cool. Yes. Oh, I love that. Okay, that's cool. That's made me feel a bit better. Yeah, you've clearly got me on a topic that I can talk about.
You started it.
Yeah. I can definitely talk note taking, and there's not a lot of people I can talk it to. So
you can certainly talk to yourself about it, which is what I do.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Check me out.
I was going to say in that little ramble as well, there were lots of other points in there that if you were to watch it back, you can go, oh, that's an interesting point. I wonder about that, and then you have a base to go from. So as soon as you've done that first one, you then have 2 or 3 points for the next ones. And what I do in my head is I go, okay, they're for another time. Because if you do it then and there, you're then stuck later on. And it also allows it to fester.
Yes, subconsciously turning that question over in your mind. I like it.
Oh, yes. Right, Yusuf asked a question about Vim. Am I still using Vim ish? Do you know what Vim is?
No.
It's basically how do I explain this? It's kind of like an extension. It's mainly used for coding. So when people are on their keyboards, they can go up and down lines using J and K, and basically it makes moving the cursor around easier.
Sure. Yeah.
In Obsidian, we can use Vim, so I can go up and down, open pages, close pages, literally do everything from my keyboard. Sure. Do I still use it? Sometimes, but a lot of the time I'm jumping in and out a lot into Obsidian, out of Obsidian. So Yusuf, yes and no. If I'm just in Obsidian working there, yes. But most of the time, no.
That makes sense. That's good to know.
So yeah, I will like Obsidian has a warning sign. If you don't know how to exit Vim, don't use Vim, because Vim, it's all keyboard. So you can't type unless you're in the typing mode.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, so if you're in the wrong mode, if you push J, it will start going down. If you push control things and start pushing letters on the keyboard, start typing and you're in the wrong mode, your cursor could go all over the page. You could open up pages of what's going on?
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
So yeah. Pauli, did anyone? Yes, I did say API. I did say API, and we were briefly talking about API and automations. Are you using the API? I assume no, but do you think you will?
Potentially, if there's a really good case to use it. But I'm very much trying to keep Notion as simple and minimalist as possible, because what I found in the past is, again, I over-engineer, I make it complicated, and then I just don't use it. And I really don't think it needs to be something. Yeah, I'm a very clean, simple Notion user. I just found that's what works for me. I'm a simple mind.
It works. It works.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the cleaner and the easier, it just makes life easier for me.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. Completely.
We've hit an hour. Are you still good for?
Oh damn! I'm good for a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. So I've got one more curiosity.
Okay.
When it comes to sort of leading on from the API automation sense,
yes.
When it comes to technology where AI potentially moves forwards, I've asked this to a few other people. Okay. If in the future, 5, 10, 20 years, AI starts to take over such sort of the note-taking task, project management, maybe a digital workspace, we've seen, some people have suggested goggles and moving things with your hands. What would you want to see when it comes to tools and tech combining with AI? Literally go anywhere you want.
I Firstly, I'm a little scared of AI, if I'm being completely honest. I would very much like, is it Gideon? Iron Man's Gideon?
Yeah,
Is it?
I think so.
Why does that? Yeah, I'm going to go with it. That doesn't sound right.
Well, I can't correct you because I don't know.
Who does Iron Man have? Oh, anyway.
Jarvis.
Whatever it is.
It's Jarvis,
Thank
isn't
you.
it?
Of course it is. Gideon is from Legends of Tomorrow. Okay. Anyway, the point is having someone to almost talk to, because I'll tell you why. When I'm speaking, when I'm talking to myself in my head, and I have these, I will like draft messages or something to people, and I'll be like, text Danny about X, Y, and Z. And I kind of form the draft in my head, and then I'll come to type it. And A, I can't be bothered to type it. And B, it's like, what did I even say? So to have something that is very easily, hey, I'm thinking this is what I need to do, would be freaking amazing. So yeah, that I don't know, like, how easy that is. But yeah, that would be super cool. I'm not sure if that quite answers your question, but that is, that would be very cool.
Have you explored Google Assistant at all, or Siri, or Alexa, or whatever?
I mean, I use Siri,
Okay.
for reminders and stuff, but something that's a bit more. It definitely has some way to go. So okay, so if I'm reading a book and I'm like, that's a really great point. Something like air, if on a podcast, I can very easily double tap, but it's still not the same thing. What I want to be able to do is go, oh, pause. That's a real, and like dictate. And I know Otter would do some things, but it's just not quite that. But I don't just mean for note taking. I mean for also like doing stuff. And Siri is a long way off from actually being that useful. So some kind of that is always there is useful. Because even my watch, half the time he doesn't want to respond to me. So some kind of much better. But yeah, so when I'm drafting things, even an email, I want to say, here's roughly what I want to say, draft it and get rid of it. I don't want to, once I've drafted it in my head, I'm almost like I'm done with that task. And therefore to come back to it is like, oh my God, this is like really painful because I feel like I've already done it. I don't want to do it again. It's almost a bit mind readery, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a virtual assistant that you can just always talk to and just them do everything.
Yes, basically. And that's where the AI comes in, because they need to have a little bit of a brain. Because if I say, oh, can we text Danny something about this, it then gets like done. I don't have to dictate word for word and then correct the grammar or anything like that. I'm talking as if this is something that's actually going to be briefed to somebody. But yeah, that would be cool.
You say that. Well, I watched MKHB, so I watched Marcus talk to the CEO of Google, and that's what they're working on. They're working on conversations between like people and people, like talking conversations. That they're working on it.
Wow.
So we will see.
Here's my brief, Google. Well, actually, can I send it to Apple? I'm an Apple user.
I'm not. I'm literally the opposite. I have nothing Apple other than like actual apples, but that doesn't really count. So
I have no actual apples, but every digital one you can probably think of. I am a massive Apple fanboy. I can't help it. They're just so pretty.
Yeah, I'm much more functionality. I've recently got a new PC, as I mentioned earlier. My sister, all like RGB person, it's a black box. It works. I'm good.
Yeah. No, I get it, but like Apple products work.
Oh, they do.
They really just work.
We're not going to get into the Apple versus.
I was just about to say, let's not do that. That's a whole different conversation.
That's like a whole hour.
Yeah. Let's not do that.
Right. So, is there anything else you want to add? Obviously, share where you are, where people can find you.
People, you can find me on the tube. So if you search Bhav, Sharma, hopefully one or both of my channels will come up. But the podcast is Creators Campfire. There is a video version, which is on the Creators Campfire YouTube channel. Or you can get it wherever you listen to your podcasts, if you do. I hate that line. They really need to fix that. But yeah, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you listen to it, you can find it. That's about it for me. I don't think I have anything else. I am on Twitter. I am on Instagram, but I do not really use it. So Twitter is probably where you can get me at some point. I think I'm at Just Bars, but I'm sure there'll be links.
Yes, yeah, I've got a link to the YouTube channel in the description, and then that link's like everywhere.
Everything.
So, yeah, I do confirm that before I link.
Yeah, that's all good because I can't always remember. But no, Danny, this has been wonderful. Thank you very much for having me on.
Awesome. It has been great. Oh yeah, it's been great having you on. And for everyone else watching, I'll see you guys next week, and have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever time it is where you are. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Thanks, guys.